in we drove around this.
We're very keen to hear why must Zuma's character be assassinated.
Mzwandile, former President Jacob Zuma, doesn't believe that there was state capture.
He did qualify to say his understanding may be limited.
There's lots of red on the board behind you. Is it a true reflection of what's happening on the markets today?
Yeah, certainly is, Nzing. About 0.1% lower thus far for the markets here locally.
Your money on market sense. South Africa needs jobs.
Welcome back. It's now time to have some fun. In studio, we have two participants of the World Cosplay Summit. It's an international contest where contestants wear costumes. This year, it is held in the central Japanese city of Nagoya. In studio, we have Tayla, Barter and Les Allen. Good afternoon, and thank you to both of you for coming through.
No,
Les, what is it all about?
World Cosplay Summit started in 2002 as a Japanese initiative to invite other countries over to celebrate Japanese pop culture. So teams are invited to come over and wear a costume from a Japanese animation, sort of like Pokemon, Japanese computer games, Japanese manga, Japanese pop culture.
Yeah.
It's now grown to 42 countries taking part. It is the biggest cosplay contest in the world. You actually see this is Team Mexico from the Legend of Zelda computer game. Each of the teams is required to hand make their own costumes. They can't have really any assistance. You're looking at Team Chile now. And the teams compete in their regional events. South Africa is the only country in Africa to be chosen to be part of World Cosplay Summit. That is Team France on the screen right now. So last year we sent our first team over and they made a very good account of themselves after only 3 months preparation. A lot of these teams spend 16, 18 months preparing costumes. And Tayla and Genevieve were Team South Africa for this year. And after the very first round in Tokyo, they actually finished top 8 and went through to the final. Unfortunately, there was some very, very strong competition.
Let me know when their outfit comes up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Taylor, what attracted you to this competition and what did it take?
So I've been doing cosplay for about 7 years now, and I've absolutely love it. I really enjoy competing. So I've done a couple of local competitions, and then earlier this year I also competed in another international competition called C2E2, which is in Chicago, again with about 10 international countries. So for me, WCS was like something I really wanted to experience.
It was the ultimate.
Yeah, it was just like something that you have to do as a cosplayer, you know?
The teams that win get to spend almost 2 weeks in Japan.
Yeah.
So Japan views, WCS is viewed as a cultural initiative for a lot of the teams. So they get to go over, experience visits to temples, experience to government offices, experience all the food, and then they have the major competition at the end of that trip.
But what's the lure for you? Is it the technical side or is it the outcome where you have this pretty outfit?
For me, I actually focus mostly on the crafting. Like costuming for me has always been about what I can create and how I can push myself to make better things, bigger things all the time. So this competition was slightly different for me because it's less crafting based and more performance based. It's all about what you do on stage and how you act and represent the character. So I really wanted to do something different, whereas most of my costumes in the past have been about crafting. This was about what you can do on stage as a pair and perform and be in character. So it
looks totally amazing.
It's a lot of fun.
Take us through the process. What did you think of the competition?
Oh, it's intense. It's very intense. So this year was a little different. They did it in a sort of tournament fashion. So you started in Tokyo, went through and did the Tokyo round, which was getting on stage in your pair and then trying to be in character for about a minute was all you got to show off what you could do. They then selected the top 8 from the 40 countries to go through the finals. From there we went to Nagoya and they did the Nagoya round.
You're traveling around with the same outfit this entire time?
You're traveling around and like we had a huge box with us full of our costumes because we did quite big armored costumes. So we had this huge box.
How was
we
the
had
sourcing
props.
of product in terms of when you needed to fill in there and fill in a gap there?
Oh God, it was, I remember one night we went to Don Quixote at 1:30 in the morning to try and get bolts, to try and bolt my hip pieces on because they weren't staying up. So yeah, it's
Liz,
crazy.
who came up with this?
This was actually Tokumaru Aguri. He was a television consultant in Nagoya. He actually worked in the TV industry, and he wanted to start sharing his love of cosplay. He invited 3 teams, I think it was Italy, Spain, and France over initially, and it has just snowballed. So Nagoya is almost the spiritual home of cosplay now, and it's where this tournament is run every single year. So now 40 teams competed this year. Next year it'll probably be 45, 46 teams because 2 teams couldn't make it this year due to various reasons.
What's the next level for participants?
It's actually just going to expand. The exciting thing is for next year's team, we've already selected them. They're going to be in Tokyo at the same time as the Tokyo Olympics.
Okay.
So they are going to be able to compete in the World Cosplay Summit Championship and experience the Tokyo Olympic Games at the same time. So as more teams join in, this is actually Team USA's intro to their skit. Now, you're going to see their skit on stage. Now, their costumes were out of this world. All of these hand-stitched, hand-embroidered. There are details in here that you wouldn't even see on stage, but once you take the costume off, there's more detail underneath. So each team is required to do a 2.5-minute skit. It must be, like the costumes, something from Japanese gaming, Japanese pop culture, and you perform it on stage.
What specific elements are the judges judging?
They're looking for fidelity to character. So some of these characters that you get in Japanese pop culture are much beloved, like Mario from Nintendo, Super Mario from Nintendo, Pokemon, Ash from Pokemon. What the judges are looking for is fidelity to character. Are you able to channel this? How well do you represent this character? How well do you honor them? The skit that you do, how accurate would it be according to the source material? So there's 2 elements to the judging. The first is 2 days, all of the organizers, I'm the organizer for South Africa, we have to judge all of the costumes. And that's 2 days where we're in meetings, assessing every costume. Then at the end of the week is the skit performance, and that's a separate set of judges. The judges that are brought in are all voice actors, Japanese actors, and they assess it from a performance aspect.
I'm just thinking about the viewer watching us right now and thinking, if you did this, is it a living, is it a side thing? What is it all about?
So I do cosplay full time. It is my job. I create tutorial books, patterns, and other kinds of things like that to try and help other cosplayers who are just starting out with creating their own costumes, because it can be a little bit scary to look at these things and think, well, how am I going to make this? So
is it profitable?
We've been doing this for 3 years now, and I mean, we never considered that it would be a full-time thing, but it can be. I mean, you've got other people in South Africa too who do make a living from cosplay. They make costumes for other people who would rather just buy a costume and wear it to an event and have fun.
Are you allowed to just buy?
Absolutely.
Yeah. From a competitive perspective, generally the competitions want you to make your own costume.
Yeah.
So that's where the skills that Tayla shares. Tayla's very, very good at sharing her skills with other people who want to learn how to make armor, how to make props, those sorts of things. Cosplay globally, $25 to $40 billion industry. That is billions.
Would you say, you know, there's a big conversation globally about jobs changing, like jobs of the future.
Yes.
Is this one of those?
Absolutely. There are now, inside of pop culture, inside of new media, there are people who are creating these markets for themselves. People like Tayla, who her Kinpatsu Cosplay Patreon, where people will donate a little bit of money. This is Team South Africa on screen right now.
Oh, is that Tay's creation?
Yes.
Oh my word.
Tayla's
Can you
armor.
just ask our producers to keep it on for quite a bit longer?
So it's Tayla on the right and Genevieve on the left. They were from a anime.
Does the actual outfit look as good as the one in the picture?
It's better.
I mean,
it's better. On stage, under lighting, and having Tayla and Genevieve embody their characters when they walked on. Tayla's character, Mordred, is very arrogant.
Tay, is that you on the right?
Yeah, I'm on the right with
fantastic.
the big
Just
ponytail.
break this down for us.
So my friend Genevieve, she did all the sewing aspects on the costume. So she's more of a seamstress, and I am more of the armor maker.
This is cloth.
So the dress underneath is cloth. I've got a couple cloth pieces under mine, and then the other stuff on top of it is the armor, and we make this from essentially the same stuff that they make yoga mats from. So it's EVA foam. It's really cheap. It's easy to get in South Africa.
So you and Jen get together and decide. How do you decide on which characters you're going to go for and how you're going to go about it?
So for WCS, the character choice was a little bit difficult because you obviously have to have characters that you can make a performance out of. So we had to sit for a while and think, well, what are we going to do that we can use on stage to give a decent performance and entertain people?
Yeah.
So we settled on these two. Mordred is essentially a traitor, and Artoria, on the blue one on the left, is the king, and Mordred betrays the king, and they have a big battle, and it's pretty dramatic. So we really like the characters. We like that the costumes were really big and really exciting looking, and then we had an opportunity to do something cool on stage too.
So I'm a mom, I look at these characters and I think of the characters that my kids watch on TV, the comics. Are adults also into these?
Yeah.
Absolutely. As we said, it's a $25 to $40 billion industry.
Yeah.
It's a chance to dress up. If you, like an adult equivalent might be going to a murder mystery party. You're adopting a character for that time. Here, you're just getting to put on the character that you love. Yeah. A lot of cosplayers view this as an homage to the character. I want to do the best possible costume as a representation of this character that I really, really love.
Yeah, something else we've seen that's really fun though is that things like Comic-Con, what people will do is they'll get their kids and they themselves will dress up.
I took my son to Comic-Con and he loves me to bits.
Yes.
He thinks I'm the best parent ever.
Yeah.
So this is your cosplay with him.
And there's ways to get into this for young kids as well. There's a young gent in Johannesburg, Nori, the Cosplay Cartel. He's very good at giving the basics. So with a piece of cardboard, some sticky tape and some glue, his patterns, you can make a basic helmet. But if you then paint that black, now all of a sudden you're one step away from Black Panther. You're one step away from Magneto. You're one step away from becoming this character. And cosplay can be very, very expressive. A lot of people that love cosplay tend to be very shy.
Are there any complications with royalties in terms of the people who created these characters?
Presently, not really. The character, a lot of the movie studios, the comic book industry, they like this because they're seeing people promote their characters. It's only when you start wanting to monetize what you're doing that there could be potential issues. But by and large, they'd like to encourage this sort of thing because when you get to see amazing versions of your characters in real life.
Will it ever come to South Africa, as you say, it's a Japanese thing?
World Cosplay Summit will always, the finals will always be in Japan, but our regionals for next year will be at Icon, which will be taking place in March. The first year we only had 2 teams compete. This year we had 8 teams compete, and Tayla and Genevieve won. We've already selected our team for next year, purely just for a logistics reason.
Yeah.
So what
is Tayla going back?
One of the really good things about WCS is once you've won your regional and you go to the World Championships, you then get considered an alumni. You are allowed to go back
automatically
any year.
We have to wrap up this conversation. Just quickly tell me about the shoes.
The shoes.
How do you put those together?
Oh my gosh, so those are also made from yoga mat stuff as well, and then we covered them with some silver fabric to try and make them look like armor so that you can still walk in them
multiple uses for a yoga mat.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for coming through to talk to us. This was such
a
fun interview. Les, Ellen and Taylor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming through. All right, let's take a break. You're watching The Agenda.